Alright everyone, how are we today? We've reached Saturday and I wasn't expecting to have Stevie on today, but he says he wants to come on especially just to speak a bit about our defeat at Ibrox. So it's only fair that I give him that opportunity. So good morning, Stevie.
Good evening, UK time, Hamish. But yes, how are you? You okay? Have you got over yesterday as well as I have?
Yeah, I'm totally over it and was preparing just for today's video to be a St Mirren preview, maybe with a wee mention of Ibrox, mainly Kieran Tierney stuff that we will touch on, a wee bit on Alexandro Bernabei as well. And then you popped up in my inbox saying that you wanted to get some stuff out there. So listen, no harm, Stevie. I'm happy to give you that opportunity. And I don't think we'll spend the whole video chatting about it, but I've got some comments from the wonderful viewers as well. We got so many in yesterday, so we'll go through some of them. But yeah, clearly a disappointing game. You're saying to me off here that you've calmed down a little bit.
Yeah, but I was fuming, really, really angry yesterday. And I'm well aware that this type of stuff gets clipped in angry Tim threads and all that. So that's fine. That's fair game. You've just got to take your medicine. But I was really racking my brains to find out the angriest I've been after one of these defeats. Yeah, there's a lot of people saying the 5-1 in 2000, and I don't buy that because we created plenty of chances that day. We equalised, and we only went downhill when Alan Thompson got sent off. Like the closest I can think of was March 2000 when we lost 4-0 when Dalglish was in charge. Like that was a total trouncing. But that was a really good Rangers side as well, and the Celtic side that day were poor. Nothing like the Celtic side that went into that game. And I guess on a personal level, it was just the overconfidence really that done me in. I'm never like that, as you know. I'm always really cautious and edging. I always say these games will be tough. I felt getting into that one that we were generally we were going to run away with it. And I wasn't prepared for the level of incompetence that I seen, to the point that's why I wanted to come on and discuss it a bit more. Obviously went into it with Reeds in more detail, but it was more just to come on and basically see how shocked I was at that performance after predicting, the absolute opposite to happen. The manager, certain players, the system, everything all went wrong. Everything that could go wrong did. But in a weird way, what I was thinking about today was, see, even though it was a real Hall of Shamer from us, maybe it's given it's a real wake up call going forward, not just for myself as well, to realise the Celtic side actually aren't anywhere near maybe as good as what I think, or the finished article, which is fine. And I'm fine with that, and that's good because, in fact, the most annoyed I was in recent years was the COVID season 2-0 defeat, which made me bring back the podcast and everything with how raging I was. So I was like that yesterday, but I hope the manager learns from it. Now, we have seen that after the Dortmund 7-1 game, everyone is were raging to the point that we were dreading that Atalanta game. Brendan Rodgers actually did learn, because he totally surprised us all with that Atalanta match and how pragmatic he was. So the signs are there that he can learn from this, and he's put unnecessary pressure now on himself, in my opinion, getting into the next game against Rangers, because there's a lot of chat now doing the rounds, arguably, that Philip Clement has his number. He's sussed out how to play against him. He's taken that Bruges template and adapted it to that Rangers side, which is just basically sitting 5 in midfield, in that mid-block, to basically be impossible to play through. Or Celtic just can't do it because they don't have the personnel to do that, and that's something the manager has to address. But I feel the game in March now is going to be ultra hyped, and I think the pressure that he's putting himself, maybe because he's arrogance and not learning and not adapting from what we saw in the League Cup, has got me questioning this whole elite status that we see with Brendan Rodgers. And I have backed him all season, and that Atalanta game, after it, I was singing his praises. I didn't think that the manager was able to get a result out of that, playing the way he did, but we did. And I'm now really interested to see what he does going forward for the second half of the season. One of the things I really agreed with you about on your video, Hamish, was that thank God we've got a game on Sunday, because if we had a winter break, and I think you and Asim made really good points, but if we had a winter break, I can't emphasise how down I would be going into the next few weeks. So it's really good that we've got a chance to put that right. But I don't just want to see a game on Sunday where we get 3 points and it's a case of, right, okay, everything's okay. I want to see certain players replaced. I want to see the system changed. And I want to see really fast, free-flowing football, which we're capable of, and we've proved that before. Because, frankly, what we saw yesterday was unacceptable for me. And that's no sense of entitlement. I've grown up seeing better Celtic sides lose. There's no shame in it. But the manner of that, Hamish, was completely shameful for me. And yeah, I guess we'll go into more of it, but I've just said my piece there.
Yeah, I mean, I think if we'd been playing like incredibly well over the past couple of months, and then yesterday had happened, you could really put it down to being just one off day, a bizarre off day. I still personally think, and I know this is a phrase that's getting a lot of people wound up, I do think it was still an off day in terms of the way the team played in that derby at Ibrox was significantly worse than anything we've seen so far this season domestically. Dortmund is the only game that's comparable. So even though our performances haven't been great recently, like Aberdeen away, Zagreb away, Tannadice, a few other games where we've just not been quite as good as we were at the start of the season, I thought the performance at Ibrox was still a real shock to me that we were just that bad. But the point I'm making is that I think generally over the past few months, some of the things we saw at Ibrox we have also seen in other games, not quite to the same extent, but the passing being a bit slower than it was at the start of the season. I don't think the wingers are quite as electric as they were at the start of the season. Certainly Dyson Maeda, I think, has been a bit off it for a period. He's had the odd really good moment in the cup final and still love him. But I don't think he's quite been at the same level. I don't think the midfield is playing. Callum McGregor's not playing as well as he was at the start of the season. Possibly Paulo Bernardo isn't playing as well as he was at the start of the season. I don't think the forwards are. So, and that kind of all adds up to what we saw on Sunday. Like, there was no real... When we've kind of been under the cosh at Ibrox in recent games, there's been times when Celtic have really been struggling. Like, remember the 2-2 New Year's game a couple of years ago? We were kind of all feeling a bit down and out in that game. Or the recent cup final, we all felt a bit down and out at half-time. Or when we went 1-0 down to the Aaron Ramsey goal under Postecoglou. But we always, in those games, had something that dragged us forward, whether it was like Dyson Maeda or Callum McGregor driving through 3 or 4 Rangers players and setting up an equaliser, or Kyogo popping up with a goal. The thing for me on Thursday was it was pretty clear pretty early on that just wasn't going to happen. There was no one with like a real bit of brilliance in them. Maybe Kyogo was the only one with that really terrific finish he had, unbelievable, and was only offside. But other than that, there was nothing really in that game that you felt, there was no player playing at a level that could kind of drive the team forward. And I think, quite simply for me, after saying all of that, it has to be a kind of important moment for the team, just like Dortmund was. We started the season so well, and then we kind of felt similar going into Dortmund than we did with Ibrox. Not like we were going to batter Dortmund, but people were thinking we could go to Dortmund and win, and certainly get a result. And I was one of them. Like, we were in a hell of a good place. People were saying, what an opportunity. Can we go to Dortmund and win? And obviously that ended up looking foolish, just as foolish as the overconfidence did at Ibrox. I don't blame the supporters for that. I don't think the supporters have anything to do with the team losing 3-0 at Ibrox. I think that's solely down to the team and the management. The point I'm making is the team reacted so well to that Dortmund game, and we now view that Dortmund game as being a difficult but necessary moment in this team's evolution. And I personally think we'll look back at the Ibrox game as being the same. I think we'll look back at the Ibrox game as being the moment that broke us out of that little kind of mid-season rut we were in, gave us a wake-up call, and the team kicked on from that. That's how I think we'll view the Ibrox game in a number of months, but obviously that's now up to the team to go and prove that.
I hope you're right. I really do. I hope you're right. And the key for that is, as well, though, is in order for us to look at this, look at that as a moment that was maybe a watershed, and we rose from it. Several things have to change, and
I agree.
talking about
I agree.
the players, the system, transfers, new signings are now key. Now, I thought some new signings in January were maybe not as vital. And again, this is because we're so clear in the league. Because I knew up until maybe a few weeks, in fact, no, up until Thursday, I actually felt the young boys' Bern game was, I'm just going to say it, I thought it was going to be like overwhelmingly Celtic are the favourites and we should be winning that at Celtic Park. Now I'll be honest and say like that's another big pressure match for us, and we have
But
really got
I
to
don't
come
think
up.
that's a bad thing. I don't think that's a bad thing. Even for the support now, I don't think it's a bad thing that we all now feel, right, let's get back down to work. Because I agree, like maybe it was a feeling, right, we'll just kind of, we'll beat young boys, but now there's a feeling, you know, we need to get back down to work. We're not the finished article as a team.
Yeah, and I've got to give credit to my uncle who was texting me before the Rangers game. The only person I know saying I'd take a draw because I think the overconfidence here is a worry. And he called it, and he said the same for young boys. So I will certainly bow to his knowledge in that one. But look, I agree with you. It's one of the ones that is maybe awoken us from a slumber. We were maybe sleepwalking, thinking, 3 points here and there, no bother. I'll admit I did, and I'm happy to be proven wrong on it. And it's now just a case of backing the team and hoping that it is a moment we learn from. But the manager really has to change a few things, and I don't know what bit you want to go into, but there was a real.
So is this the screenshot you're talking about?
Yeah, there was a screenshot that has wound me up all day, and obviously when I had a look at it earlier on, stupidly looking back at the goals today because I didn't even bother doing it yesterday. I look back at all of them today, and I pinpointed this moment, and there's symptomatic of what Celtic's problem's been ever since that Bruges game, Hamish. Now you've got Greg Taylor there, who's actually in a fair amount of space, but his automatic like default persona and his attitude is not just play it back to. He's like so safety first. He's not taking any responsibility. Now, if there's a competent left back there, he's taking that ball on. He's dragging like a midfielder or Yilmaz out of position, and he's playing it down the line and taking us up the park. If we persist with Taylor, this is the type of mentality that we've got in the fullback area there, and it's not good enough. And that was one of the problems there. You've got Hatate, who's just man marked, and Callum McGregor's the key one too. Like he should be in between like Barami and Diamande. Now he's only a yard away. If you've got a second holding midfielder there alongside him, there's an extra option there and there's more space. But that Rangers got everything all spot on there for Scales to play that like risky pass, and as a result, they anticipated it. That was their game plan all along, and we've been seeing all this. Like we saw it against Hibs. Hibs like had it was something like 14. Was it like a fair amount of attempts at Celtic Park? I think it was anyway. We saw the likes of Dundee United invite us on and just like to have Scales have the ball for longer than he should, and again we played into nothing. But this is one of the things that has to change, and again personnel has to change as well. With Scales has to be out the team for the future in these bigger games. Like that's my feeling for it, because everything that led up to that first goal just like led to disaster for the rest of the side in that 90 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt the Rangers' game plan was to leave someone like Liam Scales on the ball and then cut off his passing options, and that's why we had several examples of Liam Scales running forward with the ball and then passing the ball out the park, because clearly Liam Scales is not the most comfortable on the ball. I've seen a lot of stuff about Clement having worked out Rodgers' game plan, and listen, I don't personally agree with that. I think it's too small a sample size to have said that. We still won the cup final. Cup final was still an even game for me. But I think a big part of it, and clearly Rodgers has stuff to work out, but I totally back him to be able to do that. The McGregor stuff where they're pressing McGregor a bit more. I think a big part of it though is our players not playing at the level we know they can. And I'm talking about, guys like Real Hatate in the middle of the park, just nowhere near tight enough in their game. There was one moment, and there was so many from Hatate in the first half. There was one moment in particular that you may remember where he got the ball and he cushioned it into the middle of the park without looking, and there was no Celtic player near the ball, and Rangers just ran onto it and attacked. And that was the one that wound me up more than anything, because it wasn't, to me, as if that was a result of Rangers pressing. For me, it was just really slack play. So I think a big part of it, for me, to be honest, all of it in these derby games is about what we do, and it's about Rodgers finding a way to possibly release Callum McGregor and get him controlling it again. But it's also changes in that midfield and improvements in that midfield and throughout the entire team. Because it's something we've seen too often, not just in the derby games, but Hatate's far too slack on the ball. Yeah. Far too slack. And I mean, I know you've been really critical of him this season. I've kind of stood up for him a bit, but yeah, I've kind of probably reached that point where I don't particularly want to see him starting in these big games anymore, because I just think he costs the team too much.
Aye, it's like he's starting to work against us now. And I said in the preview video that Hatate Ibrox was going to be a gamble, a major risk. And I said in Brendan we trust, because the manager is ultimately more qualified to talk and select a Celtic side than I'll ever be. But historically, Hatate at Ibrox goes missing. 45 minutes, I think, is the best I've seen. And that, the other day, from him was an utter disgrace. And I don't use that word lightly. Like, it was so bad. It was like, I don't know who was worse at him and Scales, and the fact that the manager had both of them in the second half, for me, it left me scratching my head like all night. And that's what wound me up the most. Like, see if you're Rangers in that position. And by the way, like, remember how many times have we seen Rangers players when they get trounced at Celtic Park, for example? I mean, look at Borna Barisic in that 3-0 game. He actually get taken off at half time because of how much suffering he endured. Like, Scales in that game, like in the first half, had like a similar level of display as Barisic. It was a shocker. And if you're a Rangers support, right, and you're seeing Scales and Hatate, two of our worst performers on that day, coming out, never mind supporters, actually, the players, they're going to get a boost for that automatically. That's what it just did me. And when I found there was no changes, mate, that was when I actually left the pub at half time and we went elsewhere for it. We just went to somewhere else for it, man, and that was it, because I knew it was done when they two were out. And very, very last word on Hatate. I've just ran out of patience with him, and I know he's got his defenders, and there are people who still back him, still think he's this creative genius who this season, mate, he's actually only got 2 assists, so there's one for you, right? But I think we've seen the best of him and he's peaked. And it could very well be that if he does perk up for us again, it will be because the system's changed. It's not going to be in that 4-3-3 anymore. It's not, because he's exposed, he's found out, and he's just absolutely ran over the top of Hamish. And if you're going to get the best out of him, has to change the system. Or if we can't get the best out of him after that, then, you know, patience is well and truly exhausted at the point where I won't be worried about seeing the back of him anymore. It's just got to that level after the other day.
Listen, there's certainly, Brendan Rodgers has something to work out here, because, and again, I'm not just talking about the derby matches, but I do think recently, you know, there's been the odd good performance, but away from home, we've really not created much over I think it's the past 4 games, Rangers, Dundee United, Aberdeen, Zagreb. We've really kind of struggled to create much in any of those games, and they've been very similar performances. So he's got something to work out, and hopefully it's just as simple as the team needing a bit of a wake up and just a bit of a reminder that they've got a long way to go and they need to get back to doing what they were doing at the start of the season, because we were exhilarating away from home at the start of the season. And by the way, I take the point that the games we've had have been tough. I mean, Aberdeen, Zagreb, you could add the cup final into that, Ibrox, Tannadice, are all really tough games. I guess Club Brugge, even at home, would be a kind of similar performance. We kind of struggled at times to create too much in that game. So the main thing is, for me, other than Ibrox, we're not losing games. And hopefully now we can just kick on. I'm going through a few comments because we have still got other stuff to touch on. We've been on like 20 minutes. Good people of the world unite. Clement's 1 victory in 2 seasons puts him right in the Rangers Hall of Fame. I'll take the League Cup and the 11-point lead. The boys will need to learn from that one. Poor show, bounce back. Yeah, it's all about bouncing back. Charles Sweeney, can't see the players being spooked. They've gone there before and won with no fans. Rodgers went into that game 14 points ahead, a trophy in the cabinet, and on the verge of progressing in the Champions League. Clement went into the game knowing it could be his last, and having never beaten us, the hungrier team won, which is quite normal. I get all that the hungrier team won. I think as fans, we would just question why Rangers were hungrier, because I've gone into the game, I felt that we would be the hungrier ones. I felt that they would, they looked, when their previous two games against St Mirren and Motherwell, they almost looked defeated under the manager. Yeah, they still looked hungrier than us.
Well, what was the excuse in April 2017 when we won the league and then went to Ibrox and won 5-1, trounced them there, we were like, 15, 16 points ahead of them or something, maybe even 20. You know what I mean? So we were certainly up for that one. We should have been. I don't buy into that at all. And I heard, by the way, it's not just Charles Sweeney saying it. I heard Rodgers saying it. Like there might not have been an edge there because they were so far in front. I don't buy that at all. If anything, we could have looked to go 17 clear, really derail Rangers' season, completely crushed them. And now it was just giving them a slight bit of confidence and giving them more hope for the rest of the season ahead. But yeah, that's my thoughts there.
Yep, thanks for that, Charles. Mike Jazz, we can lose games, that's football. What's really twisting my nipples, however, is that utter embarrassment of a performance. CCV aside, I thought Celtic stunk the place out. Hatate and Scales in particular. Kuhn and Maida, toothless. Is that a wee kind of a wee playing words there with Nicholas Kuhn and his teething problems when he first came in? Genius. I bet it wasn't even from Mike. Kyogo was unfortunate, but 3 shots of their 20 something is insane. Reality checks can work wonders though. James, Cotter, they have found a way, and that is to mark McGregor out the game, but he should find a way to lose his marker, and the other midfielders should take more control too. Yeah, I just think we need more from that midfield generally. I mean, but even Paulo Bernardo kind of struggled, and he was incredibly weak for the first Rangers goal. We really need a midfielder to really stand up. And I hope it's Arne Engels. I hope he can now come into the team and just really in 2025 really make that position his own, because we do have good players there. We can't rewrite history. I mean, I think Luke McCowan's a really good player. Callum McGregor, I personally think there's a lot of nonsense been said about him being finished and all of that, and Paulo Bernardo as well we're raving about. So,
well, yeah, I mean, I remember having my doubts about McGregor last season, and he really showed up in the last 6-7 games. So, not going to write him off, but I think he desperately needs help, and he needs help in the form of a new signing, or indeed Arne Engels alongside them. Because what I worry about is, while I actually agree with you that we need to, Rodgers is going on about how he loves his players with pace and power, but I didn't see any of that whatsoever on Sunday, especially midfield. I just saw a really weak 3 that were just relentlessly battered from 0 to 90 in that game. So I don't know if Rodgers is going to get the players that he wants, if because he's already went and spent the best parts of 20 odd million from the summer. So I don't think he will get the players. I think he'll have to work with what he's got. And I agree with you on Arne Engels. Like, he really has to now step up, and I hope Rodgers gives him a run in the team, even playing a more deep line, where I think that's where it could be his best position. And I hopefully kicks on for that, because I think he does have tremendous vision. Some of the passes that he's played earlier in the season, and even just against Motherwell, that cross-field one that he does, we don't do enough of that as a team. Like, you don't see Scales doing a cross-field diagonal like Sakun. But see, even CCV does it on the very rare occasion it does to Maeda. Like, it led to a goal last season, remember when Lindstrom puts it in. We do not see that enough, and the likes of Proper, for example, with Rangers, can't defend the long balls, and I don't know why Rodgers was so arrogant not to mix it up and persist just for that pass at the back and just get caught out time after time. So I'm getting off on a tangent here again, but look, I do agree. Desperately need some physicality and power in that midfield. I hope it's Engels, and see if it's not. We have to identify a player that is a proper number 6, because it's evident that Callum McGregor isn't, in my opinion.
Okay, right. That's something people are saying. For me, that's McGregor's position. I think he's been great there for us, and I think he will continue to be great. But certainly a lot of people agree with you, Stevie. Right, Jimmy Johnson, I was saying that we need to get the fast, accurate passing game going. I feared Callum getting marked out of it. I wanted Trusty instead of Scales. Scales giving the ball away for their first goal set the tone for the match. We just need to hope that Brendan can kick them back into the tight passing game. I'm going to the game on Sunday hoping the players put this one behind them and get back to winning ways. And finally, Bailey, a horrendous performance to be honest, and the brand of football we play is inviting defeat. There was no hunger or desire yesterday and Rangers wanted it more. Calmac was well off the pace yesterday and the rest of the team gave the ball away constantly, and I could tell after 10 minutes this was not going to be our day. We need more physicality in the middle and defence as well. I may be moaning, but that was a wake-up call even though we are 11 points in front. Lick our wounds and get back on track. Yes, we quite literally only have that option, and as we've said a few times, thank God that is an option, because if we were heading into a winter break, and let's point out that has been the case in recent years, that it's been a kind of early year derby and then into a winter break. Thank God that we can just look forward to St Mirren now. Right, we will do that. A few things to say first, Stevie. Bit of a big Kieran Tierney update yesterday. It's been reported by a number of outlets that were in talks with Arsenal about bringing Kieran Tierney home. Now, Derek McGregor at the Scottish Sun has the biggest scoop of the lot. He says we're hoping to announce the return of Tierney on a pre-contract as early as over the next week. Tierney has a real desire to return to us. I think that's something that we've both heard as well, Stevie. It's said that the immediate priority is to get Tierney signed for next season, but we could still get him in this month. So this is happening from the sounds of things, that Kieran Tierney seems like he's going to be returning. We're going to sign him in a pre-contract and then ideally try and get him in over the course of this month as well. I don't know if that will be possible. I know there's some doubts about Tierney. We don't need to go back into everything again. But I must say, Stevie, after the disappointment of Thursday, this did give me a bit of a boost. And as a football fan, with that emotional element and having absolutely loved Kieran Tierney, I'm sure like everyone else, and been gutted when he left the club in 2019, the thought of him coming back to Celtic, I think, is a pretty nice story. It's a pretty cool story, and whether it fully works out or not, I don't know, but my first kind of reaction is that it could be a pretty big boost to everyone to have Tierney signed up.
Yeah, I think we need a boost. Certainly we need a lift after that the other day. The club certainly owe it to the fans after that, and I think this is a step in the right direction. We've been crying out for a real physical, powerful left back. Greg Taylor just won't cut it anymore, in my opinion, Hamish. Alex Faye I like, but it's clear that Brendan Rodgers wants someone even better, and I'm fine with that. I want somebody better than in every position we've got. Kieran Tierney, it seems like he's motivated and he is desperate to get back to playing football. It seems like he's desperate to come back to the club, and that's good. It's not like we are just chasing him. He is, actively wanting to come back to Celtic. But look, each to their own on it. I think I can respect people that have concerns about the injury issues that he's had, especially under Brendan in the past, but it's continued for Scotland and at Arsenal too. I get it. But I think, he's not going to be playing at the certainly more intense level down in the Premier than what he is up here. I think he'll be able to ease into it slightly, and then he'll be able to actually, really kick on, and we'll be able to see. You could remember, he's only 27 as well, man.
Yeah, I was going to say that. Like, see, when you watch, the only time I've really seen him is for Scotland in recent years, and when he plays, he still looks brilliant. I mean, he's for me, I think he's potentially Scotland's best player when he plays. Like, he's such a good player. It's not as if like his level has left him. Like, maybe people have that in their mind a little bit because he doesn't feature for Arsenal and hasn't featured, that maybe like he's kind of regressed as a player. He's still the Kieran Tierney you see when you play him. The issue is, and it's a big one, is him staying fit. And that's a difficult part of this, but the reality is that if Kieran Tierney was able to stay fit for a long period of time, we wouldn't be re-signing him. In my opinion, he'd be playing for Arsenal or potentially even, going to another major club. Like, I think, it's a total game changer even if you find a way to manage him. Imagine having him in that team on Thursday, for example. Imagine having like Alistair Johnson on one side and Kieran Tierney on the other. Like, it's really exciting for me.
Well, I fully fit AJ because I don't believe he is
Yeah.
100% now. But I'll take your point. But yeah, look, I hope it works out. I really do. And at this point, we've got nothing to lose on it, Hamish. We can certainly afford them. The club can. So why not go for it? And it seems like the player's desperate to come back. I think he'll be welcomed, and certainly by myself, I'm looking forward to seeing him again. Gutted when he went, and we certainly need a proper, competent left back in there. So hopefully it is Kieran Tierney, and as I say, whenever it's announced, it will be a massive lift because I think we're desperately needing it at the moment after Thursday.
Yeah, well, part of that funding that you mentioned there may come from the sale of Alexandro Bernabei. Now, it's been reported by a few outlets, including the Celtic Way, that we have accepted a £4.5 million bid. That's €5.5 million from Internacional, the Brazilian club. Esportes GZH, the Brazilian outlet, say that a deal could be announced within 48 hours. 5 million. If we get 5 million for Bernabei, then that's not bad business.
Yeah, very good. I mean, I'll be shocked, but listen, we've commanded some ridiculous fees in the past for some players, haven't we? So, but I mean, when it comes to selling, it's our assets. It's one of the things we actually do get spot on as a club, 9 times out of 10. So if we get anywhere near 5 million for him, fair play, I'll be stunned. But even at that, I mean, I bet even if Palma goes or something, we'll make a profit on him. In fact, we made a profit on O, didn't we? O, who was maligned at times, and we made
a profit. 3 million for Bosun Lawal.
So seems like the recruitment mob are doing something right in that respect.
So it's all happening at left back. Bernabei likely to be leaving permanently. Seems like we're going to get a good fee for him, so that's all well and good. Tierney coming in, and we'll just wait and see what's happening with Greg Taylor and Alex Vai. And it's going to be interesting to see what our left back situation is. It'd be great to get Tierney in this month for me. Just give everyone a boost and get them in that team. Right, we move forward to tomorrow's game. St Mirren, one of 6 Premiership games taking place. Some pretty good ones in there as well. Hibernian versus Rangers, Motherwell versus Aberdeen, Dundee United versus Hearts. We've got St Mirren 5th in the table at the moment, so doing very well, but they have lost their last 2 since beating Rangers on Boxing Day. So change-wise, who do you want to be in your team for this game?
Scales has to come out. Taylor has to come out as well. And Hatate has to come out. They're the 3. They can't be starting after Thursday. Sets a bad precedent, and it would frankly be an insult to the fans, in my opinion. It might be too strong for some people, so I thought I'd be certainly gutted by it. So I want to see Alex Vai come in starting. I want to see Trusty come back in alongside CCV, and in place of Hatate, I want to see a midfield of McGregor, Engels, and Bernardo. To be honest, no, I wouldn't have any worry with taking McGregor out, and maybe Hatate, who actually assisted against St Johnstone, would thrive with Engels and Bernardo alongside them, like we saw there. But I think the manager will probably. I think for Callum McGregor, the manager will want to give him a lift and stick by him. Yeah. So I think Hatate's got to come out, plain and simple, alongside Bernardo and Engels. And up front, we've not got many options out in the wing. James Forrest is obviously out. Dyson Maeda is badly needing some competition, but who comes in for him? Yang and Palma, not good enough. We've got to stick with Kuhn and Maeda. Up front, I'd probably go Vida, to be honest. I think Furuhashi will probably score and he'll probably be fine. But I still don't think his performance in Thursday was anywhere near good enough other than that smart offside finish. So the other changes I'd make, I can take that, take or leave that one. But the 3 that I really want to see come in, Trusty, Vai, and who did I say? Engels, wasn't it? And Hatate, Scales and Taylor out 100% for that.
Right, well, I've gone pretty similar. This is my team. Schmeichel, Johnston, Carter-Vickers, Trusty, Vai, McGregor, Engels, McCowan, Kuhn, Ida, Maida. I think you're right. There's a number of positions where we don't have many options, actually. It's funny because we've gone from having this incredible squad to actually questioning a bit, and that's always the case after defeats. And if we suddenly go on a 4-game winning run, we'll be back to saying everyone's amazing. That's just the way we are as football fans. But for me, McGregor will definitely play in a big reaction after the derby. He's not going to leave McGregor out. And Kuhn and Maida, and I'd go Ida through the middle, and just really hope to see something. I've said it a few times now, so I won't labour the point, but I don't think either Ida or Kyogo are playing well at the moment, and I want to see more. I want to see better build-up from those two, but Ida would come in for me just based off the fact that he didn't start at Ibrox and might be a bit fresher. And we need to see a reaction, Stevie. So, final question, do you think we will?
I desperately hope so, and all evidence points to it that we will. We reacted well after Dortmund. That could have really sank us. We could have reacted poorly against Aberdeen when we drew there. We went and we got an excellent draw against Atalanta. And we've now suffered an absolute shocker, one of the worst performances. It's certainly the worst performance of the season for me, worse than Dortmund. And we have to see a reaction. And we've certainly got, this is why Brendan Rodgers is paid £3 million a year. He's got to get the reaction from the players. Hope he does.
It's like your wage, isn't it, for doing this?
Don't worry about
that. Hey, we got one of them in. Woo. Everyone's cheering at home. It's been a tough video, this, Stevie, but you still managed to get one of them in at the end.
It's not. I know it's been. Look, it's actually been quite good doing it, especially. One thing I've learned is I will never get overconfident in Celtic ever again. I will be a snidey, negative guy as always going into these games.
And if anyone's moaning about that, don't have a go at Stevie. Have a go at the players on Thursday. They are responsible for the dull Stevie that we'll see for the rest of eternity.
Can I get that in writing?
Right. Okay. Everyone check out GigPod as well, which will be out
in the morning. So when this video's out, it should be out a few hours after that on Spotify or Apple or whatever. Thank you.
Subscribe to GigPod. While you're doing that, please subscribe to Celtic AM. Every video we put out is available as an audio-only podcast. Thousands of people are enjoying that, Stevie. So, if you don't want to have to look at us, you can go take your phone out for a walk, commute to work, to the gym, whatever you want, and listen to the show. It works surprisingly well when you don't have to stare at us. We're also going for 12,000 subscribers. We're like 300 away now. So if you found us in recent days and support Celtic, please consider subscribing. And a big thanks to those of our other teams' colours who have found the channel over the past few days and helped to fund a wee holiday I'm having to Perth later in the year. You really are all legends. And that's the Aussie Perth, by the way. Okay, everyone. See you later.